Hello everyone. It's another Trails game. Yes, they're coming thick and fast. Do you remember not so long ago I did an unboxing for the first Trails through Daybreak game? Yes, it wasn't long ago at all. I think only about 6 months. How come we've already got Daybreak 2? Well, it's been out in Japan since September 2022, so over 2 years. Takes, of course, a long time to translate, etc. We've only had Phantom Brave a few weeks ago, and now another big game. They must be on a real release schedule high over there at NIS America, who kindly sent me this box for unboxing purposes. So that's what we'll focus on today, because I don't yet have a lot of gameplay to show you. Well, in fact, at this stage, I have none, zero. All I've seen so far is what you might have checked out for yourselves, which is the demo available on the various platforms, which provides you with combat example. You can go in at something like level 30 and try out the combat, what changes they made compared to the first game. I don't really enjoy that type of demo very much, so I only had a very quick look. I prefer to go in and for everything to develop organically. So let's dive into this box so I can get at the game. Now, the first Daybreak game was overall well received, I think. And people really enjoyed the new style combat system with the combination of action and command turn-based. And you can swap readily between the two. It's a very flexible system. And it actually didn't take me long to get adjusted to it. For me, that was the real win in Daybreak, that new style of combat system. I've really enjoyed it. Combine a good combat system with a good story that keeps you interested, with good character interactions, and you've got a winning formula, really. That's what it boils down to. That's what I enjoy in JRPGs. So like with the first game, we've got a slip cover with the title on it. And while the first game the colour theme was blue, in this one it's a sort of quite bright orange-red. This is the back cover. And the colour is important, and I think we'll find out in a moment. Same cardboard quality as always from Nipponichi Software. It's nice to see just a few things not change in this world. And here we are, tightly packed as always. A set of art cards. And I do like me a steelbook, I really do. Same as the cover image. And the surround here, this golden surround, has a slight embossing on it, a nice effect. And it is not a glossy steelbook. I would call it somewhere between matte and semi-matte. Very nice, and I think you can spot behind our 3 main characters. This golden helmeted figure looks to me like a Grendel figure, I think. Yes, there's another Grendel here in this game. Steelbook just empty inside for your usage. Now, I have looked through the character listings on the NISA website. Like all the Trails games, there is a very large cast. We have both returning characters and new ones. I will try and not mention or show any of the new characters because I always feel that's a bit of that's something you want to experience for yourself. First impressions are important. But I will point out some of the returning characters, because I'm assuming at this stage that most of you watching will be familiar with the Trails series, or maybe one or two games, and in particular may have played the first Daybreak game. It is certainly a good time to get into it because you've got the first game and the sequel now available. So the art card again showing the title illustration. Here are two of the male characters, and I won't go into details here. It's a while now since I played the first game, so I had to jog my memory a bit. With a large cast of character that all the Trails games have, and often, of course, they cut across different games, and you might remember them from an earlier game or a later game. So, yes, confusion is always possible, certainly at my age. The obligatory beach scene with beach ball and the gals being very jolly. 3 characters in uniform here. A tender moment for Swin and Nadia, who first appeared in Reverie. They're, as always, very well produced, and these cards are glossy. And here's the game. As always, you get the Deluxe edition, which includes a digital voucher for 8 tracks, and a mini art book, which contains some of the character illustrations from the main art book. And just leafing through it, I can see that the illustrations are actually very well done for a simple softback manual style art book. It's a reasonable size, not one of these teensy-weensy ones, so actually the pictures come through well. And there's a bit of text at the bottom, which I'm not showing, with a bit of background. Nice to have. So I will be rushing to my gaming room once we finish the unboxing and play as much as I can. And I will record a few short sequences just to give you a very, very early impression. My main focus will be not just on how the story is introduced, but also, of course, on the combat system. What is new, what is changed? Obviously, they will have tweaked it, I would say. So here's the soundtrack. As always, very nicely presented, but it says original mini soundtrack. It sounds just a wee bit ominous. I'm not quite sure. Why do we get these mini soundtracks? I have complained about this before. Is nobody listening? And that is why. 8 tracks. I assume there's a same as for the digital soundtrack. I'm just comparing quickly. Monochrome days, playing dirty, absolutely exactly the same tracks as the digital voucher that comes with the Deluxe edition. My criticism would be that the selection lacks range and variety. So this is probably a bit of a rhetorical question, but in case anyone asks, can I play Daybreak 2 without playing Daybreak 1 first? I'm pretty sure the answer's gonna be not really. It is a true sequel. As you probably know, the whole Trails saga, it's a huge story through time and different locations, but there are always connections, and it's an ever-evolving story. And while Daybreak was a new arc within the Legend of Heroes series and the Trails series, the story within this particular arc is connected, and it really pays for you to know the characters and what went before diving into Daybreak 2, for all sorts of reasons. And here is the good news. There is a third game coming for the Daybreak arc, Kai no Kiseki, which I think has already been available in Japan for a while, but we should be expecting it. I don't think there's any date yet for when it might come. The subtitle, certainly translated from the Japanese, appears to be Farewell O Zemuria. Also, if you have a clear save file from the first Daybreak game, you will get some bonus items when you start up the sequel, Daybreak 2. They have also introduced something called connection events, which I'm, to be honest, not quite sure about. It simply says dig deeper into the stories of specific characters, and they're sort of special little events that occur that are character related. It sounds more like an extra, a bit more background. It doesn't sound like the sort of thing you might get, let's say, in a Persona game, where these events are also linked to developing a relationship that then becomes important in combat and for the development of the story. They have also introduced a new element called the Märchen Garten, or in English, Fairy Tale Garden. And that sounds quite intriguing and very much the sort of thing that I usually enjoy, so I'm looking forward to exploring this particular garden. What is it?
I was just about to get into that. It's the world's first virtual space service, which is made possible by Zyphatech and the Orbital Network. Basically, you can go anywhere with anyone at any time. That's the Märchen Garten.
It's something that has been created in a virtual space within the game's story. It sounds to me like extra exploration and finding stuff in combat. It's sort of like extra dungeons or something like that, I imagine. You can freely build your party from any playable character. That means you can get some rare items. Yay, I love rare items. And there's something called mystic cubes as well, and I have no idea what they are, but I definitely want one of those. It says special items can be obtained via mystic cube analysis that allows each character to upgrade their crafts and S-crafts. Oh, I'm onto that. And this Märchen Garten can be accessed at almost any time throughout the story. This sounds great to me.
Huh. So this is that Märchen Garten thing you guys were talking about. Yep. Definitely not your average piece of software.
Of course, I could not wait to try it out. You fortunately get it very early in the game. Well, look at this. It looks pretty nice to me. Really a typical fantasy environment. Yes, of course, I will do all of that. Just let me loose. There will also be 2 mini-games. A card game called 7 Hearts and a collecting balloons game. I do like card games, so I'll definitely give that a try. A map of the Republic of Calvard. You get a really good impression of that whole world, ranging from the Liberal Kingdom right down at the bottom here. Who remembers the Liberal Kingdom? Trails in the sky. Going up north, way up north, is the Erebonian Empire. Trails of cold steel. Yay. Trails of cold steel. Rehensschwalzer. And the big centre is occupied by Calvard, detailing all the locations you're going to, from Crail Village to the capital Edith, to Dijon, Bourg, Oration, Messeldam, Basel. It's all there. Very nice. The map is made of sturdy synthetic material, I would say. So it's not going to fall apart in a hurry, but it's not cotton or linen or anything like that. It's a sort of textured synthetic product, I would say. And of course, right on the border between Calvard and Erebonian Empire is the Crossbell State, which you will know from the Crossbell Arc, and the city of Altair there right on the border. Yes, there's a lot of reminiscing you could do over this map. And finally, the art book. My immediate impression is it's a bit smaller and a bit thinner than previous ones. It's called Trails Through Daybreak 2 Calvard Case Files. And of course, in-game, if you go to the notes section, there's always case files there. And just for comparison between the first Daybreak game and the second for the art book, this was the art book from the first game. 242 pages. This one has 31 pages. Let's see what's in it. This is the contents listing, and the first page gives you the text for the prologue, a brief overview. Year 1209 of the Septian calendar, the threat posed by Almata, that was that mafia group in the first Daybreak game, has passed. Peace has finally returned to Calvard. And for a time that peace goes uninterrupted, until something happens. You know me, I don't give too much away. And of course Van Arkwright gets involved again. We begin as we did in Daybreak 1.
It's too early for this shit.
A woman appears at Van's office.
Agnes? Thought you weren't working today.
It's nearly 10 a.m., you know. You really should be wide awake at this hour. I have a job fit for a Spriggan, so you better start waking up already. Van.
And thus a new investigation begins, also in the centre of Edith, but the circumstances are very different from the first investigation in Daybreak 1. The characters have changed due to the events of the first game, and in particular Van and Elaine are now on a very different footing compared to the beginning of the first story. This is the very first dungeon, and it already has some quite reasonable opponents in the form of gangsters. So not just your usual rats and slimes, etc. The command combat system looks reassuringly very much as in Daybreak 1, so you will be able to slot right in. We'll have a look at a bit more combat detail later on in the video.
Don't stop now, Elaine!
Van, your turn!
Take that! Nice! That went great.
Thanks for helping, Van.
And then there's a section on the world with a reproduction of the map I have just shown you. But of course you can't see a lot of detail here on the page, but giving you some info about the cities and locations. And then the all-important characters. And we see here that Arkwright Solutions have had an increase in staff members. Some of them are characters from the first game who have returned, and we get nice, large character illustrations. Agnes is a favourite with me. I like her. Just like Van. I think everybody likes Van. I mean, he's a great character. And we have other characters which are also shown in the smaller softcover art book in the Deluxe edition. You may remember Leon from the first game. And I've skipped over just a few pages where there might be a bit of a, giveaway. And a few illustrations. The same as on the art cards. I have no quibbles about the reproductions. The quality of the paper and the print is very good. They're very nice illustrations. I would have liked more. I suppose that was to be expected, and there must be a reason why they cut back on the number of pages and illustrations. I'm not going to speculate, but we all know it ultimately boils down to cost. The same thing really with the soundtrack. I would have actually probably expected a few more tracks on the physical edition that comes with what is a limited edition. The steelbook is very nice. That is a great item to include, but nothing that unusual in a limited edition. So it's good to see they can still do them. That's what I do. I give you my first impression and reaction to what I unbox. And I like what I see, but I would have liked it to be just a bit more full-featured or extensive, let's put it like that. Art book and soundtrack are always I've always said that, are always the two core pieces in any limited edition. Skimping on those is, I think, not really such a good idea. Especially if you're going to the trouble of having, a hardback. So what about the colour? I mentioned that earlier, because everything is themed in a very sort of strong red, slightly metallic colour. I see from some of the information that the game is subtitled Crimson Sin. It certainly is in Japan, but I've also seen it in Western information. But I can't see that subtitle here anywhere, so I hope I'm correct on it, but that's where I see the connection between the crimson and the red colour theme throughout. We'll obviously have to find out what Crimson Sin exactly is and what it means in the game. I mentioned before that we have quite a few characters in this game, and many of them are actually returning characters from the first game, but we're also having sort of guest appearances, characters who've been in previous and other Trails games making some kind of appearance. Many of them are listed as sub-characters on the NISA website, but nonetheless very interesting. We already had one character in the first Daybreak game who first appeared in Trails of Cold Steel, and that is Fee Cloussel, and she appeared in Daybreak. Here in Daybreak 2, we will be meeting again Towa Herschel, whom I remember, if I'm not mistaken, as a homeroom teacher from Trails of Cold Steel, and I think she's now an instructor, so she's not a playable character, but she is important. So, for example, characters who reappear are, of course, Van and Agnes themselves, also Elaine, whom you remember probably from the Bracer Guild, and Fairy Al-Fayed and her older brother will also appear, and there are several others you will probably recognise. We also get a few sub-characters appearing from older games, and if you're wondering, as I did, whether there will be any more significant characters from especially the Trails of Cold Steel series, as far as I could work out, yes, they will be appearing in the third game to come, Kai no Kiseki. We're looking forward to maybe in the future seeing Rian again, and also Altina Orion. As well as, I made a note of Crow Armbrust. I love how they use German in the Trails games. If you're familiar with German a little bit, you might know that Armbrust means crossbow. And I already mentioned we've had Fee Closel before, and Towa Herschel now. But I think for a lot of Trails fans, having Rian Schwarzer back and Altina Orion would be a big deal. I don't think I'm mistaken about that. And that was the unboxing for today. I hope it's given you a good impression of the limited edition and also a bit about what to expect from the game. Now's the point where you can put on the kettle and get some snacks, and I hope to see you back for a closer look at the world, the story and the combat of Daybreak 2.
Two calls in 2 days? You guys are seriously working me to the bone here. Are you for real? Okay, let me get one thing straight. I'm an ancient, venerable... not some troubleshooting AI. Solve your own problems.
Mare has a much bigger role in this game, and it's really welcome. I'm enjoying her interactions with the team. She is a bubbly, fun character to have around.
Okay, fine. No need to pull out the puppy dog eyes. But it's nothing I can't handle. Process complete!
That girl's as temperamental as they come. I also love the way the interactions between Van and Elaine are scripted so naturally and interesting. Banter can often feel a bit artificial in games, but this is great.
On behalf of the sponsors, the trophy will be presented by a very special Princess of Alzheim, Zita Oswald.
The early story scenes in Daybreak 2 can feel a bit like they're treading water, but on the other hand, consider you're being introduced to new characters who will be important down the road.
She's a princess? Wow!
I didn't realize Prince Sharid had a sister.
Well, I won't say I don't get how you feel, but I think it'd be better if we handled this one ourselves.
Again, this doesn't look like a terribly scintillating conversation, but in the light of what I'm going to show you next, a new feature in the game, you'll see.
Famous Beauty's blade at my side. We'll have this case wrapped up in no time.
Okay. In that case,
Please keep an eye on him for me, Elaine.
Hey, I don't need any looking after. I'm backing her up, not the other way around.
Don't worry, I'm all over it. I'll make sure to keep him in line and out of trouble.
Thank you.
Please rest assured I went to great lengths for this to avoid any crucial details concerning plot. The map shows you the point to travel back to in time, but it's not a choice with consequences, it's purely a narrative-driven device, which unfortunately takes some of the tension and excitement out of time travel, I think.
All right. Van, Elaine, what can I do to help?
Van is having a fleeting sense of déjà vu here.
What the hell? Well, I won't say I don't get how you feel, but I think it'd be better if we handled this one ourselves.
And here you can follow a subtle change in the conversation. The small shift makes it possible for events to take a different turn. The problem is that you are merely a spectator having to reread and re-watch a very similar conversation, often verbatim, to finally get to the jumping-off point for the new events. I don't think it's bad, but it's a bit like a stop and restart situation that you can't control. That's the only thing so far in Daybreak 2 that I feel a little bit uncomfortable about.
I'm all over it. I'll make sure to keep him in line and out of trouble.
Thank you.
If you find one of these chests and crack the lock, Mare can then showcase her virtual hacking skills. The first one is very simple, and I expect down the road they will get tougher. There are a surprising number of extra activities in this game. Some are not as welcome to me as this hacking game. I had to shadow someone in stealth mode for a side quest, and I'm hopeless at that, and I didn't enjoy it. Fortunately, I was able to skip over having to do it.
Kid stuff. I bypassed the security. I've got control of the system.
A very useful reward. This is Van doing a bit of a Sherlock Holmes act, I think. You simply press R3 to activate the search function. Reading the results is perhaps a bit of an acquired skill. I'm still working on it, but I'll show you here in an example. So Van now uses the skill, and you can see it's a sort of smoke and light effect. It's a simple interactive task which makes it fun, and you see I found the right spot.
Modifying your orbment, are you?
Let's look at the Orbment menu in the first game. You see that the bonuses and buffs for each quartz are listed in a sort of drop-down style, so you shouldn't have any problem finding your way around the new game. Here's the menu shuffle, and the shard skills are listed on the right-hand side. I think this change will be welcome. It's significant information at your fingertips, basically. Cross-charge. You have to do a perfect dodge. Well, that doesn't happen very often with me.
These battles feel just like the real thing.
Marduk's technology is certainly impressive.
I quite enjoy these side convos while you're in the field. They're easygoing, but occasionally you also get some useful tips and info. I'm diligently collecting these shard tokens. Not quite sure yet what they're for. Maybe for that Mystic Cube. Van is dodge rolling around like an idiot, getting hit all the time, and I'm not sure exactly how to do it. And then, suddenly, cross-charge pops up. I must have managed to hit the triangle quickly because there was a great stun effect, which is now supposed to allow you in command mode to execute an EX chain more easily because the enemy is already stunned. You see, at this early stage you don't have many skills that incorporate stun. I only have Van with one skill called Raging Buster that will reliably stun an enemy. But to be honest, I like it simple and I'd rather just use that stun skill than go through this palaver with the cross charge, which I'm probably not gonna get very often.
Activating skill!
Doom! Blitz!
I also just want to point out about the visuals, how I think the animation sequences for the various skills and special attacks have really been improved and brought to another level in this game, certainly compared with Daybreak 1.
There! That's done! Now you can!
Enemy down!
Here I managed to stun an enemy simply by a physical attack, I think. You just take that advantage when you've got it, and from there on you can go straight into an EX chain, or certainly an attempt at it. The game tells you right here to use an S boost via L1, so let's have a look at that now. I practiced this, and after a short while I was able to initiate an EX chain fairly reliably most of the time. It's what I would call a slightly fussy skill-based attack, in that it has 3 parts to it. You see, the precondition is the enemy has to be stunned. Once you've achieved that, by whatever means, you then got to make sure that you're inside one of these Olympic ring circles with a partner, that you then activate a shard boost via L1, and then you execute an S-craft or attack. Somehow I managed another cross charge here. So deploy shards, go into command mode, go into a circle, press L1 for your S-boost. Yes, she's done it. Agnes, you're a brick.
Hold you on, yes!
Shine forth! Palladium Ray! Try to keep up!
Got it!
And there we have, finally, our EX chain dual skill. Step 1, stun, using Raging Buster, Van's attack.
Raging Buster!
Yep, stun. Step 2, use the S boost, make sure you're inside a circle, and then unleash an S-craft.
Take this and this! I'd say sorry, but I'm really not.
I love Nadia's Hitches and Stitches attack. It's brilliant. And that was the EX chain, as unfussy as I could make it. However, my absolutely favourite skill is still the S-break. That's a no-fuss almighty attack. R2, and you just pick the attacker. The EX chain is quite powerful, but the S-break is monumental. Of course, you wouldn't always have enough shards for executing that. My favourite Falcom EX type skill, however, is still the one in Tokyo Xanadu. Admittedly, that is a straightforward, pure action RPG, but to my mind, those EX, X Strike, X Overdrive, whatever they were called, skills, were all just a joy to use.
Graded.
There is one more change in the combat system I need to alert you about. In Daybreak 1, there were very few limits on how much you could use your S-crafts. That made the game considerably easier to play than the new Daybreak 2, which has tweaked this system and introduced a recast timer. You now need to be a lot more careful and strategic about how you use your various skills and to what degree. This makes it more challenging, but ultimately also probably more enjoyable.
Whew, that hits the spot.
And just in case you're wondering about my shirt, because there's always people commenting and asking about the shirts I wear. I appreciate it, guys. This is the East versus Trails game, subtitled Alternative Saga. And this is a crossover fighting game. Now, I'm not hugely into fighting games. I got the shirt simply because I liked the look of it. And they're always very nice shirts and, just comfortable to wear. The game was first developed and published by Falcom back in 2010 for the PSP. Man, that system was popular, wasn't it? I wish we could have something a bit like that again. Just dreaming. Who knows? But I see that an English fan translation was done by the group The Geofront, and now there is an official version scheduled to be released for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Windows PC in 2025. The info says so far. Well, we haven't heard anything, but if it's still on track, and I hope it is, it would be something else for Trails fans to enjoy. Anyway, that's the shirt. As always, thank you very much for your time. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.